I'm First Cowgirl Angela Hess. I'm here today to talk about mental health. I'm very honored to have with me my son, John. Thank you for being here with us today. So, John, tell us about the journey with mental health and what has mental health looked like for you in your life?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that, I'm honored to be here with you to be able to talk about this and share part of our journey and then part of the existing journey because it never ends. I'm a non-traditional student at Northwestern Oklahoma State University, and I'm going to be graduating from my undergrad in December and then rolling straight into my master's program to obtain my LPC and LADC licensure. I got a front row seat to, I think, what a lot of students might be facing, whether they're 18 or 49, or maybe even older. The stresses of college life, of life in general, they're real. I know that personally I put a lot of pressure on myself to excel at a top level, and I'm not alone in that. Whenever I look at where I'm at today and where we've come, it never ceases to amaze me where we're at today. And, I do bring with me 5.5 years now of community mental health services. I've been able to learn a lot and to see that what I thought I knew, what I thought was true, was just a narrative. And so I'm honored to be here today, and I look forward to sharing more with you about this.
Well, as your mom, I just want to say I'm extremely proud of you and being 49 years old and taking this journey and achieving what you've achieved just obviously fills me with great pride. Can you tell me about a specific incident that may come to mind that impacted your mental health journey?
All of them had some type of influence, and they still do today. But I think it's important to start at the beginning, and that started in 1976 when I was fortunate enough to come into this world and fortunate enough to have a young mother who was trying to figure things out. And, born at that time, mental health in general was seen through the eyes of the stigmas that were present back then. And
I think what happened during those days is we were both trying to grow up together.
Mhm.
And I would say that the stigmas were real.
Mhm.
People didn't understand the struggles of anxiety or depression or um, just the quiet suffering that I think people who have these issues deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and at that time, mental health really wasn't on the forefront of people's minds. And in fact, it was quite the opposite. We would, whenever we'd talk about something, even if a family member did or somebody in the community did, the answers were all often, just pull yourself up by the bootstraps, or just get over it. And that didn't work. It only pushed things down further. And it wasn't seen as a mental health issue. It was seen as a character flaw at that time,
Exactly.
at least from the experiences that I can remember on that. And you've shared with me, many times where you had to wear different masks in different situations, but then you would come home and I would be able to see the pain and the suffering, and I didn't know what that was. I had an idea of what things ought to be, and they weren't, and that created a lot of dissonance within myself, and created a lot of challenges between us.
Yes, it did.
Um, you know, when I look back now, I can see that we were both unseen,
Mm.
and I want to be in a position now where we can be seen, not just by others, but more for you and I. And I know that when I was growing up, that you saw the byproducts of my pain and suffering, whether it was my behaviors or substance use to try to medicate through those things. 'Cause I didn't have any coping skills. I didn't know what a coping skill was. And I didn't find that out until way later in life, although I was using unhealthy coping skills to try to get through. So I guess that was my mask, that I was wearing. Although I think that we all do that at some points in time. Everybody has a situation that's difficult and they don't know how to handle it, and they present one way, but in the inside, there's a lot more that's going on. And that reminds me of something Gabor Mate talks about in his work when it comes to trauma and addiction. The question really isn't about the addiction. It's about why the pain. And once we can identify that, I believe, then, the healing can begin on that. The lens that I feel like I was viewed through was just based upon the label of addiction. And back then, the models that we have today, they were there, they were present, but they weren't like they were. They were still in a moment of refinement. And so there were many times that interventions were taken to try to do something out of desperation, and those interventions failed. I wasn't ready for it. The methods that were out there they weren't what was needed for the time that we were going through. And I know that both of us went through, many well-intentioned interventions, but they were misguided. But I know that at the end that our family did the best that they could. I know that you did the best you could with what you had to work with.
I appreciate you acknowledging that and sharing that today, because I know that is a reminder of a past that we would just as soon forget, but is part of our story. And there are other families out there that have probably shared some of the exact same experiences that we thought were unique to us during that time. So, I really do appreciate you your acknowledgement of being seen. So important, because when we are in that dark spot, and as a young mother raising a son, experiencing my own depression and anxiety and mental health circumstances, I wasn't fully prepared for you. And so we are in a great spot today, I would say. So were there any other specific life experiences that you recall that you would say just really impacted you?
It wasn't until my early 40s that I began my healing journey that I'm on currently. I was lucky enough when I moved to Ponca City to find a phenomenal therapist who when I first walked into her door, into her office, I started looking at everything in her office to use as a type of manipulation. And I told her that up front. And so I wanted to be honest. I wanted to be open. I wanted her to know what was in my mind, because I'd never done that before with anybody. And so continuing that journey, I've had weekly or biweekly appointments with her. And it's not always about just working through the crises or talking about the things that are going wrong or the perceived things that are going wrong. It's about just having that space to be able to share with somebody freely about life, because life is more than just suffering. Life is about celebration of accomplishments. It's about joy. It's about happiness. And through that time frame, prior to that, I call it my wilderness stage, right? Where I was out there looking for something desperately, filling that void with all kinds of things, but still at the end of the day, feeling as empty as I did before I was doing those things. And, one thing I want to, point out is that, something I heard, a question was about if you could go back and you would know everything that you know today, right? If you could go back to that 8-year-old little boy and say, here's your path. You're going to have to go through all these things in your life. Would you do it exactly the same? And my answer unequivocally is yes. If things would have been different, things would have turned out differently. But who knows what that would have looked like, right? I can't say, but I can say this, that today, because of those moments, because of our experiences, that I'm here with you being able to share about this in hopes that maybe somebody else can see that they're not alone in their journey, like you talked about a second ago.
Well, John, that really resonates with me deeply. Our journeys have been different yet so similar. And coming to Oklahoma State University has definitely challenged me. There's been moments where I've wondered if I was going backwards instead of forwards through anxiety of just trying to learn how to fill this role, this position as first cowgirl. And uh, some days it's harder than others. So I hear what you're saying, and I just really appreciate your openness and your honesty in those feelings of saying being seen. That is so important when you have lived your whole life feeling unseen to now be seen. And I'm also so grateful that you have found a therapist that you can connect with. For me, the same thing. As you know, it took years. I was probably close to my 40s when I finally found the right connection with the right person to help me begin that journey of healing. So, John, how has OSU changed your view of mental health since we've arrived here?
Well, although I'm not a student at OSU, my connection to the university runs deep. My dad, of course, is the president and your first cowgirl. I see the dedication that you both have and have had for many years when it comes to the school and the various roles, whether it's been supporting dad or now stepping into this role of advocacy for mental health and for student mental health. And it inspires me daily. It really, truly does. Um, my mom's work with student mental health and the Cowboys Care Initiative is something that is dear to my heart because I know it's dear to your heart. That mental health in general is definitely something that I know is important for everyone because everybody has it, right? It's just a part of us. So I see my role is to support you guys in every way possible. And I can do that through my own community mental health experiences because here's the reality. The campus doesn't end at Stillwater, right?
Right,
Um,
exactly.
the campus is expanded out, and I've been able to work with current, former students, graduates, and others that left the school for various reasons, and parents that currently have their students enrolled in that. So that gives me a, a it gives me an observation point
Mhm.
to be able to see that it's more than just what's here, and whatever I can do to support that through those various outlets, I aim to do. And I know, one thing is that um, to me, orange just isn't something that you wear on the outside. The true orange is what we have on the inside.
That is so true. Our family is orange through and through, for sure. I really appreciate you bringing up the types of people that you in your current job that you work with on a daily basis. You see it all. And in watching you in your position and the conversations that we engage in often, you've really helped me to have a new perspective. I think that sometimes we can get very tunnel visioned about mental health. And hearing you talk about the fact that there are students, and it is a broader range, and that There are students that were here and they left for one reason or another. And now then you're in a position where you're talking to these students. Um, you're talking to parents. And that's our mission from Cowboys Care is that we want to be inclusive of everyone. I say it all the time. I think that you would agree with me that mental health does not discriminate.
Mm.
It just doesn't. It doesn't care where you come from, who you are, what your beliefs are, who you voted for. None of those things matter. Mental health, it just shows up, and usually when you least expect it. So, watching you work and the conversations that we share now have helped me to really broaden my vision for Cowboys Care. So, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
What's something that you want students to know when it comes to mental health and OSU's support?
Well, that's a great question, and I have two parts to it.
Okay.
One is to the students. It's okay not to be okay, right? You're not going to have everything figured out. Life is about experiences. Whenever we look at things, oftentimes, again, we focus maybe in on the things that are going wrong, right? But I want to encourage them to see that they're more than just the suffering. Their effort, their dedication, their the getting up, the resilience, the grit, the determination.
Mhm.
And it's okay to feel like maybe you don't got it all figured out, right? I didn't have it figured out. I still don't. But I wasn't even in that mode of figuring things out till, like I said, early 40s, right?
Mhm.
But I'm just fortunate enough that I was able to find a path to be able to do that. And um, Students will grow. The times that they think are their worst may often turn out to be their best. We just don't know in that moment,
Mhm.
but it may turn out that way years from now. So my message is it's okay to go through those moments. It's okay to think to yourself, man, how am I going to do this
Mhm.
now? Um, but don't give up, right? Don't give up at all. And maybe they need to reach out, like you mentioned earlier, to different support mechanisms. Maybe it's a faculty member they trust, right? Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's a peer support. Maybe it is a therapist, right? Maybe it's just a call home
Yeah.
to talk to a friendly voice. And it doesn't even have to be about what's going wrong. It might just be the conversation of, how was your day?
Yeah.
And the second part to my answer to that question is for those that are fortunate enough to be able to serve the student population, because it's an honor. Just like I know it's an honor for every client that's in front of me, and I tell them that I am honored to be a part of their journey,
Mhm.
that I'm going to learn and I'm going to hopefully grow with them as they're growing through whatever it is that they're facing. Um, and it's not just about having the resources or programs. It's about real people who are authentic and want to show up for the students.
Mhm.
When I was thinking about this, I could imagine a student going to a door, knocking at that door, looking for help, but nobody was there, right? And or they open the door and they're met with indifference, and that can push people further into this state where maybe they do decide they want to leave the university for whatever reason, right? That could be the reason right there. And so every opportunity is just as important as the last one. And I think if we can focus in on that as providers or support mechanisms, or just walking around this beautiful campus and looking at somebody and saying, hey, how you doing?
Right.
Letting them know that there's a connection that's there if they want it.
So, John, you were talking about it being an honor to sit with a client and talk to them and help them through their journey. What I would like to say to you today as your mother is it's an honor for me to sit here with you and look at you and the man that you've become. It's an honor for me to know the hard work that you've put in and that you put in every single day to be the best person that you can be. But beyond that, it is an honor for me to know that you have taken what was a very difficult journey for both of us, and you have turned it into something so special that you have dedicated your entire life now to paying it forward and changing the lives of other people so that they don't have to go through the struggles that we went through. It's been hard for sure, but sitting here with you today and looking at you, I will just say it's been hard, but it's been worth it. And as a mom, I love you so much, and I just appreciate you for being willing to be so open with us today.
Well, I honor everything you just said, right? And it goes back into honoring our journey together. And, I know that there's a lot more
There's more to
to it,
come.
but at the same time, this is the great step to be, I hope, not just to help others, but to continue our healing process
Absolutely.
and our growth process together. And, you know, if I could say one last thing, to anybody who's suffering from any type of mental health issue, the best time to seek help is today.
Yeah,
Open that door. There's somebody there that cares.
I agree. Thank you.